Business Bites with Kate Johan.
This month, I also caught up with CEO and founder of the social enterprise The Do Nation, Hermione Taylor, who is another innovator who came up with a unique way of getting people to pledge actions to help the environment instead of donating money. Hermione is now in her 6th year with a staff of 6 and is helping businesses to find ways to engage staff to reduce carbon emissions by carrying out simple challenges such as cycling to work or taking the stairs, as well as helping businesses to enhance their environmental credentials and improve their bottom line. Here's Hermione. Hello and welcome to Business Bites, Hermione.
Hello.
So, Do Nation is a social enterprise that has a unique way of encouraging people to change their behaviour in the cause of saving the planet, one pledge at a time. Hermione, how did you come up with this idea?
Well, I came up with the idea, about 6 years ago now, when I'd just been completing a Master's in Environmental Policy. And so I guess the importance of sustainability and our individual actions was really at the forefront of my mind. Yeah, so a friend and I were planning to cycle from Clapham down to Morocco, as you do, and we saw that as a great opportunity to raise support for this cause and the environment and sustainability. But we didn't feel comfortable asking friends for money, and we actually realised that the environment needed people's action more than it needed their cash. And so we decided to ask them for just that. And we asked our friends and family to support us, to support our big challenge by doing their own small challenges. Anything from cycling to work, to eating local seasonal food or recycling, switching energy supplier, all sorts of little actions that together added up to make a bigger difference. And that was the birth of what's now become Do Nation.
So how easy was it back then to get them to do it in such a different way? Because it's like quite an effort for other people to do tasks or make a pledge and then actually carry through with the task. You were away cycling, I presume, and they were getting on with their lives back in the UK. How did that work out?
Well, I think you say it's a challenge, and yes, some of them are, but I guess because they were doing it to support our challenge, which was so much greater, it made them realise that actually it was quite doable, and that cycling to work 2 miles across Clapham or into the city really was quite doable when we were cycling over the Atlas Mountains or whatever, and then others, and it just kept it in people's minds. And it also, most of all, I think people enjoyed it because they felt like they were part of our challenge. And they felt much more actively involved in what we were doing than if they'd just parted with some cash. If they'd done that, they probably would have forgotten about it pretty quickly. What I should add is that actually a lot of the actions, so some of them are challenges, but actually what most people realise is once they've started doing them, they're actually not challenging at all. They become habits pretty quickly, and a lot of them have many benefits of their own. It's just the challenge is starting. It's like anything in life, it's that like getting over that initial hurdle, and then often you look back and go, oh, why wasn't I doing this before? This is such a good thing to do.
Sure. And then when you were doing the cycling challenge yourself, how many total miles and total carbon emissions did you save?
So I should be able to remember how many miles we cycled. I think it was around 3,000 or something. It took us, we were away for 2.5 months. Cycling most of the time, which was, it was an adventure. It was so much fun. But whilst by cycling to Morocco, we obviously saved 2 flights from London to Morocco. But our friends, I added up the impact that all of their actions had, being a bit of a data nerd that I am, and all of their individual actions had saved over the 2 months as much carbon as 84 flights from London to Morocco. It was 16 tons carbon had been saved.
Wow, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, it really is. Cliche as it might sound, it really made me realise that our small actions add up to make a big difference.
So in the scale of the damage that's been done to the environment since industrialisation, I should say, and trying to reverse it, what kind of impact would that make?
So I won't deny it. That impact on the global scale is really a pittance, and it's quite negligible. But if you think about things that way all the time, then there's no point any of us doing anything. What we're trying to do is show people how their individual actions can add up as a group. Kind of how you can scale things up from your own individual action and say, my brother, he ate less meat, or he actually went vegetarian for the 2 months that we were away, and he might have saved 100 kilos of carbon, but that made a meaningful contribution to the overall amount of carbon that our supporters saved. And that together, in the grand scheme of donation now, has made its own contribution, and then together that will all add up to make an even bigger difference. I think now we've saved about 400 tonnes, so overall, and obviously aiming to scale that dramatically. But it's about more than just the carbon. It's about the attitude changes that those behaviours lead to, and me starting to cycle a bit might make me question some other things I do in life, and make me realise that sustainability is a more achievable thing than perhaps I realised before, and might help me influence others around me. And it's all about the knock-on effects.
You just mentioned previously that you're a bit of a data nerd. So running this social enterprise, in terms of meeting your objectives, what's your long-term aim in terms of making an impact?
Well, we're looking to really build a movement of people taking action to make a difference. That's our real long-term objective, to build a movement that's greater than the sum of its individual parts. Because if we can get enough people making pledges to change, then yes, there's the direct carbon savings that they create, but that also sends a message that's quite powerful to decision makers and leaders through businesses and governments around the world. So that's our real aim. In terms of actual numbers and targets, something I've learned through the 5 years I've been running Do Nation is, no matter how many times you set targets and reset them, they always become a bit meaningless over time.
Okay. No, I suppose what I'm interested in really getting an understanding of is, in terms of scaling it, it's been written that 42% of UK's carbon emissions are a result of individuals' actions. How many people would need to be doing pledges in terms of the UK's aims to cut carbon emissions?
Sadly, and one of the big challenges with all of this is that nothing's that cut and dry. And whilst 42% of our emissions are down to individuals' actions, they're not all completely. That doesn't mean they're only down to us. And actually, for us to reduce our transport emissions, we need the government to build better public transport networks, for example, or car manufacturers to improve the efficiency of their engines. Because that will make it easier for us to reduce our own emissions. So it's all so interconnected. And that's one of the exciting challenges and opportunities of sustainability, but also frustrations. And ultimately we all need to play a part. I don't think there's a case of how many people we need to get everyone on board.
Sure.
Obviously it would be great if that was all through Do Nation. We can set bold ambitions. But we're aiming to reach the tens of thousands in the coming few years or year or two, and really scaling up from there.
And in terms of local businesses in Wandsworth, what kind of role is business playing in taking on board this idea of doing actions to cut carbon emissions?
I guess I've skipped the evolution of Do Nation. So after our cycle to Morocco and the response we had from our friends, I decided to scale up the idea so other people could use our website to raise support for their own challenges. And we had all sorts of people doing mud runs and triathlons. Someone skied to the South Pole, all raising support through actions on Do Nation. But we then as a result of the impact we were showing and proving to have through that, businesses started asking if they could use it to engage their own employees in sustainability and in saving energy around the workplace. But they didn't want to send their employees running marathons, climbing mountains, or doing mud runs. And so instead, we developed a kind of a slightly different offer through the same website, where you could have teams of employees competing against each other to raise the most pledges, save the most carbon. Or you could host, just if you're hosting an event, you could have a pledge page to measure the impact and get everyone on board. That's been mainly focused at bigger businesses we've been running that over a couple of years. And we've had companies from Siemens to Anglian Water to Lacoste shoes using it, and quite a few universities. But in the coming few weeks or months in the build-up to the climate conference in Paris, we're going to be launching a free version of the site, which is aimed largely at small businesses. Giving them, small businesses and individuals, giving them a chance to use kind of our website, to inspire colleagues to play a part in building a more sustainable future.
So are you finding that there's more interest from businesses, or is it roughly the same balance, or in terms of...
We get a lot of interest from businesses. I think more and more businesses are realising that sustainability is important for many reasons to their business. Partly that saving energy saves money, and reducing waste saves money from the bottom line, but also more and more young people especially want to work for companies that care and that can show that they're doing something about issues that really matter. And so in terms of helping to recruit good talent and then retain good talent, doing things like this can really, really help. There are some good stats to back that up. I think 81% of young people want to work for a company that cares. 67% of our users say that as a result of making their pledges on the Do Nation, they're more proud of what their company is doing around sustainability, which is a pretty powerful stat for companies.
And one of the things that I read on the website was by doing the pledges, it's not necessarily that people were all that interested in the environment, but they had their own personal reasons, like health reasons, dietary reasons, and similarly with businesses, that it might improve their return on investment.
Absolutely. One of the big motivations for people to do these things is personal motivations. I came into it really passionate about climate change and the carbon saving side, but I'm a bit of an environmental nut in that sense, and most people don't really jump out of bed in the morning for carbon savings. And it's the personal benefits that really motivate them. And a lot of these actions, actually, that's why I care so much about behaviour change. They are no-brainers when you think about it. Cycling to work, yes, it saves a bit of energy and carbon, but it also is generally a quicker way to get there. It improves your health, it's usually cheaper, and it's fun. Walking up the stairs, likewise, so many people, that's one of the most popular pledges, actually, taking the stairs instead of taking the lift. And people always report having got fitter, lost a bit of weight, had some good conversations with people as they walk up the stairs. And yeah, it's a good thing to do. Simple, not too much of a challenge.
And is there an activity or a challenge in the Wandsworth area that we can all get behind?
Well, the one thing that people can definitely get behind, slightly personal, cheekiness here, but my colleagues and I are going to be cycling to Paris at the end of November to raise support and awareness for climate change again in time for the big climate conference that's happening then in Paris. We have just set up a page. We haven't got any pledges yet because we haven't really launched it, but it will be going out there in the next few days. And if any people want to support us, that would be fantastic.
So that's going to be. It's not going to be as hard as Morocco, but you're a bit of a pro now.
Distance-wise, it won't be, but it's going to be midwinter, so in many ways, I think it will be a lot harder.
And just wrapping up now, Hermione, this is obviously a labour of love to you. Did you envisage yourself running a social enterprise, or did you envisage that you'd be working in climate change sector or environmental sector, which you are, but you're having to run a business?
It's very much a full-time job, more than. There's a team of 6 of us working here, very much full-time. And no, it's not something I ever imagined I'd do. I thought I was going to go into environmental policy and work for a big corporate or even the government. But as I say, after my cycle to Morocco and seeing the impact and the potential that this idea had, I couldn't really let it go. And I love it. I love it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us here on Business Bites. I'm sure there'll be quite a few businesses out there wanting to find out how they can tap into this resource and get their workforce into helping to save the planet in some way.
Great stuff. Well, I hope so.
If you want to find out the different ways your team or business can get involved to improve its environmental impact and perhaps even improve your bottom line, then visit Do Nation's website at wearedonation.com and sign up to Pledge in Action for 2 months and see how many carbon emissions you'll be helping to reduce. You can also hear more from Hermione and how Do Nation's mission to nudge people into changing their behaviour is redefining how charities carry out their work at her first TED Talk at TEDx Wandsworth, taking place at South Thames College on November 14th. For more information, visit the TEDx Wandsworth website at tedxwandsworth.com.
Business Bites with Kate Johan.
Well, that's it from me, Kate Johan at Business Bites. If you'd like to listen to the show again, then the podcast will be available on Wandsworth Radio's Mixcloud account. And our media partner, South West London TV, will also be broadcasting Business Bites on their YouTube channel very shortly. Please help us to spread the word about Business Bites by liking and sharing the podcast on all our social media channels. The next edition of Business Bites is on Sunday, 25th October, between 7 and 8 p.m. Do get in touch if you have an event or business story for Business Bites at k@wandsworthradio.com. I look forward to your comments and suggestions for news and items and interviews for next month. Next up is Alex Davis and the New Revolution Show, and he'll be playing the best music as ever from the universe.